We are live.
We are
We are
live.
live.
So happy holidays, everyone. David gave you sort of a test earlier last week that we were going to try to do some live streaming, and so that's we're kicking that off today. So happy holidays. We hope you've been having a great holiday season yourself. David and I have been having a wonderful time. For those of you who follow us on Instagram, might know that we adopted French bulldogs, two of them, earlier this year, and so we've been spending all holiday season spending our time with our dogs and posting a lot of pictures on Instagram. So they're a lot of fun. So go ahead and check that out if you're not already following us on Instagram. If you're wondering why we're sitting so close, one answer is because we actually really love each other and we can't be close enough long enough. The other is that we're streaming this on multiple platforms, including Instagram, and Instagram is a platform that requires a vertical picture. So why we're sitting pretty much on top of each other, but it's fun for us anyway. So for those of you who are following us on Facebook and Twitter, hello and welcome. For those of you who are following us on Instagram, hello and welcome as well. Um, this is a fun time of year, and Dave and I have been enjoying ourselves a lot, and we're hoping that many of you have been enjoying yourselves a lot as well. But it's also a very stressful time of year. Especially with money when you think about it. People stats came out earlier this year that showed that people are still paying off debt from 2020 holiday season. That they're going in. They went into the 2021 holiday season with debt still from 2020. And all indications show that debt has increased. The amount of money people spent this Christmas season was even higher than last year, and much of that went on credit card debt. Over 34% of consumers have over $1,400 of credit card debt to pay off from this holiday season. So money can add a stress to this holiday season, but we also have to juggle work, especially during the pandemic, with friends and family, trying to see people, but try to see them COVID cautiously. And then, of course, politics sort of permeates every aspect of our lives these days. And so even getting together with some friends and family during the holiday season, during the COVID pandemic, can add a bunch of stress to our lives.
Right. And, it's this time of the year also when it seems like everyone is getting excited, right? We're getting excited for the new year. We're ready for things to change. There's this whole new year kind of thing going on, right? And what happens is right out of the gate, we feel this amazing pressure, right? It's now time to hustle. It's time to lose weight. It's time to go from broke to being a millionaire. And it can sometimes feel like it's a bit much. There's a lot of pressure on us right now to really kind of produce or go into the year thinking that we're really going to produce.
Yeah. So if those of you who don't know, I'm John.
I'm David.
We're the Debt-Free Guys and hosts of the Queer Money Podcast. And those of you who know our story, you know that we have felt this same stress before ourselves, especially the financial stress. And the problem with all of this stress, but especially the financial stress, is oftentimes stress from money. A lot of us sort of go on spending sprees to help us feel good about ourselves, to kind of get over the stress that we had about money. And the same thing can be said about eating as well. But then all this does is, the spending to help us feel a little bit better about our financial situation then kind of makes us depressed, because now we get the bill in the mail and we have more financial problems.
Right. And John and I like to call this the debt depression spiral. It's what we experienced, and we see a lot of people that we've worked with, that we've coached with, people who comment and share with us information in the Queer Money Facebook group and on social media. It all plays into this debt depression spiral. So what is the debt depression spiral? Well, the reality is that a lot of us have some sort of feeling, right? And that feeling oftentimes is either where maybe we feel FOMO because of what other people are posting on social media, or maybe we feel a little bit of anxiety because we think our peers are doing better than we are. Maybe we don't feel like we're getting paid as much as we should. And all of that gives us this feeling, this bad feeling, or this depression or anxiety. And what happens is we want that feeling to go away. And one of the things that our brain does to us, it says, let's figure out how to make this go away. And in the culture we live in today, one of the easiest ways to make that go away is to do what John and I refer to as some temporary form of self-care. And oftentimes those temporary forms of self-care are ones that require us to spend money. So I think about things like therapy shopping, going to Sunday brunch with our friends, even though we may not be able to afford it. Or maybe we go out and make a big purchase because we think it's going to make us feel so much better about ourselves. But then what happens, as John mentioned, is oftentimes then for those of us who don't have the financial means to actually make those purchases, then we get the bill in the mail, and the depression and the feelings of anxiety and lack of self-worth start all over again. We start to compare ourselves to people who are making more money than us, and we say to ourselves, why can't I make more money? Why can't I do a better job? Why can't I? And all of those why can't I and comparisons really start us all back over again in that depression spiral. We start to think again, what can I do to make these feelings go away? So what we wanted to provide to you today was 5 steps that you can take right now that will help you get over this kind of anxiety and depression that the holidays can bring. So the first one is really to just take some time for yourself and take a deep breath and express some gratitude. You know, the one of the things that John and I have on the counter in our kitchen is a gratitude jar. It's a big jar, and every day we write down on a little piece of paper something that we're grateful for. And we drop that into the jar. And then we pull out another one from the jar and we read that item. So, what happens is we express some gratitude, not only for what we are grateful in the moment, but it reminds us of all the things that we've been grateful for in the past. And the reality is, and this is a quote from
Lao
Lao
Tzu in
Tzu,
the Tao Te Ching.
right? It says, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, you're living in the moment. And really, that's what this is all about: is how do we figure out how to live in the moment? And one of the best ways to figure out how to live in the moment is to express the gratitude for the things that you have right now.
Exactly. Another tool that we have to help address the anxiety and somewhat depression that many people may feel this time of year, especially as they're going into 2022, is one of my favorite exercises, and that is to journal. So if you're feeling anxious about anything, even if you're just feeling a tinge of anxiety about something, and you're not even sure exactly what that anxiety is about, journaling is a great way to sort of get to your subconscious level and figure out what is really going on there. And then if you can just journal freehand and let your thoughts flow, trying to address whatever problems or anxiety, depression that you're feeling. This is what I like to do is then I go back and I read what I wrote down, and then I cross out things that aren't real. So what I'm trying to do is separate fact from fiction. And so often I find that when I go back and I reread what I've written down, all the things that I'm feeling depressed or anxious about, a lot of it is garbage. It's just stuff I'm making up in my head, and it's causing me all sorts of frustration in my life. So I cross out all the things that are fiction, and what that allows me to identify is usually just a handful of things are actually facts. And when I know what the actual problems are, real life things that I can address, then I can create an action plan to address those things.
Right. I think that kind of reminds me of the acronym that a lot of people use for fear: false evidence appearing real, right? It's something that we think about, that we create in our mind, and all of a sudden our mind literally doesn't know what's the difference between fact and fiction. And so the fiction in our head all of a sudden starts to create that anxiety. So point number 3 on a way to tackle that anxiety or that depression or that stress is to create a plan to try to eliminate that. Now, that can be a somewhat difficult thing sometimes. And so, what we want to encourage you to do is go subscribe and listen to the Career Money Podcast, episodes 291, 292, and 293. These are all around how to create long term, short term, and daily plans. Specifically, we were focused on financial plans, but this can also be used for other aspects of our lives, the kinds of things that we may be anxious about. And having a plan is one of the best ways. It's one of the best reminders that when we do start to get anxious, we do start to feel the depression, if we remind ourselves, oh, that's right, I have a plan to overcome this. I have a plan to tackle this. This is one of the best ways for us to immediately cut off the start of the anxiety before it starts to get too big.
In fact, every Friday at 5:30 in the morning, David and I create a plan for the next week. And one of the things we tackle in that weekly planning is what is causing us stress and anxiety about our business and our life, and how do we create a plan to tackle that in the coming week. Tip number 4 here then is, as David said, everybody kind of wants to start off the new year, and they think they're going to become a whole brand new person simply
Right.
because the clock struck midnight at the end of the 365 days. Well, the fact of the matter is that most of us set ourselves up for failure because we're trying to change too much too quickly. So our suggestion to you, and something that we like to do, is just pick 1 or 2 simple goals that you can achieve within the next couple of weeks to a month to move you forward towards something that's much bigger. And we kind of tackle this a little bit in that series on the Career Money podcast that David mentioned. But just pick 1 or 2 simple things. So, for example, if one of your goals is to get better with your finances, pick something super simple. Commit to downloading a budgeting app that you like and will continue to use before the end of January. If you're looking for suggestions for some money apps to use, we did a whole episode on the Career Money podcast, episode 293, about various money apps that we like. Listen to that episode. Think about one app that you might want to download to your phone and maybe try to continue to use that throughout the year. Or you might want to think about simply setting up banking notifications on your phone so that you know when you're getting below a certain threshold or you have a bill coming due, that you can make sure that you start paying your bills on time more consistently. Or simply go to freecreditreport.com and select a request a free credit report so that when it comes in the mail, you can go through your credit report and make whatever improvements you need to make to improve your credit score. Or one of the simplest things that you can do is go to debtfreeguys.com and download a free copy of the 7-step credit card debt slasher. It's a simple process that we've created to help start chipping away at your debt. It's free and easy to access.
Right. Having that plan is really important, but sometimes having a plan and just doing it on your own can be a little difficult. So, step number 5 here is to find a support system that will help you achieve your goals. What we're talking about here is somebody or a group of people that may be going through a similar process or are all thinking about kind of doing something together. So, we want you to try to find an accountability partner, find an accountability group. If you're looking for a group, a place to where you can find an accountability partner, we suggest that you go to the Queer Money Facebook group. That is a group of individuals who are all thinking about and trying to improve their finances. So, especially if you're trying to work towards finances, better improve your finances, is a great place to interact with other folks who are doing the exact same thing.
So those are our 5 tips to sort of de-stress from the holidays and position yourself for success in 2022. 2022, yeah. And join us next week at about the same time if the technology works in our favor, because we're going to discuss how to save up a down payment for your next home or your next car. You're not going to want to miss that. Thank you, and we will talk with you next week.
Have a great week.